discussion at a Microsoft retreat. It was late at night, and the conversation turned to one of those epic questions. How much money is enough for any one family? After much back and forth between the executives that were there, Bill closed out the conversation with his answer. There are only so many socks you can wear. Beyond that, you have to find a smart way to return the rest to society. It was classic Bill. No flowery speeches, only socks. And just a few years later, he and Melinda were married and began this historic partnership of equals who work together to return their wealth to society. So yes, they're generous, and yes, they're quite committed. But that is not why, after leaving Microsoft 14 years ago, I chose to support their efforts in any way I could. Senator Fulbright would have understood it when he said, "We must dare to think unthinkable thoughts. We must learn to explore all the options and possibilities that confront us." Bill and Melinda's biggest gift to me, to the tens of thousands who work on these issues, to the millions who will benefit, is they dare to think the unthinkable. With audacity, because that's what it really is, matched with their conviction that all lives have equal value, matched with their extraordinary resources and their willingness to use their spotlight, they are unlocking fantastic energy and capacity towards the biggest needs on this planet. Just a few examples from the past 14 years where Bill and Melinda have put a stake in the ground for a way that the world should be, as in, every child everywhere should have access to life-saving vaccines. Every U.S. student should graduate from high school ready for college, work, and citizenship. Every woman everywhere should have the knowledge and ability to plan when she should have a child and be able to safely deliver a healthy child. Every family should have access to a safe place to save and borrow. An AIDS vaccine must be found, and malaria can not only be controlled, it can someday be eradicated. I have seen firsthand what happened when their audacious beliefs combined with great resources and great spotlight came together and were transferred to the real change makers, many of whom are in this room. Scientists and researchers, long starved on projects serving the poor, find new ways and new ideas and try parallel paths to solving the biggest problems. NGOs and activists and educators, long competing for scarce resources, build partnerships for change. Corporations, too often jaded about the impact of social efforts, harness their creativity, drive down costs for critical goods, whether those are drugs or vaccines, or use their media reach to draw much-needed attention and resources to these issues. And governments, skeptical about what works, increase their funding and their alliances to bring the very best efforts to scale. The list goes on. So will all these audacious efforts succeed? Of course not. And that's one thing they understand well, too. They didn't all succeed in software either. But this, bold thinking combined with bold actions, are prerequisites to bold change. I am so grateful to Bill and Melinda for their friendship, their generosity, for their determination. But I'm convinced that when historians write their story to be cataloged here at the Library of Congress or down the mall at the Smithsonian, this is what they will highlight: how Bill and Melinda shared their audacity and allowed us not only to believe, but spurred each of us to greater action to deliver bold changes towards a much, much better world. Thank you. Thank you. The Fulbright Prize was created to recognize those who have made an outstanding contribution towards furthering mutual understanding among peoples and who have helped break barriers that divide humankind. Fulbright Prize laureates exemplify the purpose of the Fulbright International Exchange Program.
Since 1993, the Fulbright Prize has been awarded to a distinguished group of world leaders. In fact, 4 Fulbright Prize laureates, Nelson Mandela, Jimmy Carter, Kofi Annan, and Marty Ahtisaari, were later named Nobel Peace Prize laureates. The 2008 Fulbright Prize laureate, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu, received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984. This year's Fulbright Prize Selection Committee Chairman, Dr. Craig Barrett, Fulbright alumnus and retired CEO and Chairman of the Board of Intel Corporation, was joined in his work by an international committee recognized in your printed program. We are proud that Selection Committee member Dr. Almer Sharawi, Dean of Graduate Studies at the American University in Cairo, has come from Egypt to be with us today, and that Her Excellency Kolinda Grabar-Kitarovic, Ambassador of Croatia to the United States and fellow Selection Committee member, also joins us. All committee members were struck by the depth and reach of Bill and Melinda Gates' pioneering philanthropy and its impact on many problems that impede human development. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as we've heard, works to help all people lead healthy, productive lives. In developing countries, it focuses on improving people's health with vaccines and other life-saving tools and giving them the chance to lift themselves out of hunger and extreme poverty. In the United States, it seeks to dramatically improve education so that all young people have the opportunity to reach their full potential. The foundation supports grantees in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, and internationally it funds work in more than 100 countries. The Fulbright Prize recognizes the Gates' philanthropic work to improve health, education, and well-being of people around the globe, as well as their leadership in inspiring others to practice philanthropy. The Fulbright Association salutes Bill and Melinda Gates for their commitment to improving lives of the world's poorest people and their dedication to overcoming some of the world's most serious problems. The Fulbright Association also acknowledges the inspirational role played by the Gates in encouraging those of great wealth to dedicate at least half of their fortunes to charity. For their belief that every human life has equal worth, for their action through philanthropy to harness the power of science and technology to solve persistent inequities and complicated global problems, and for their inspirational role in encouraging others to give generously to improve the human condition, the Fulbright Association awards the J. William Fulbright Prize for International Understanding to Bill and Melinda Gates. Congratulations to you both. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce Bill and Melinda Gates, who will deliver the 2010 Fulbright Prize address.
Well, thank you for this warm welcome and all the nice things that have been said about Melinda and I for our work together. It's a great honor to win the Fulbright Prize and to be here among so many who benefited from the vision of Senator Fulbright. Melinda and I greatly enjoy our work, and we're very excited about the opportunities in the years ahead to make a big difference. Of course, it's worth noting that everything we've achieved has been done with some incredible collaborators, including people like Patty Stonecipher and Warren Buffett. The inspiration of many who've gone before us has been important, and I think I had a chance after we got this award to go back and look at what an impact Senator Fulbright had had and how visionary he was. After World War II, when he proposed a bill to establish the International Education Program, he did it in a very restrained way for a freshman senator. He sought no attention for the bill and made sure it got passed on a voice vote with almost no debate. It was a clever move because another senator, a senior, very influential senator, came to him sometime later and said he would have killed the bill if he'd known what was in it. He told the senator, "I don't want our impressionable American youths to be infected by foreignisms." Well, you people sitting here today are what that senator was trying to prevent. Thank goodness he failed. Melinda and I are especially honored to receive this prize because we believe in Senator Fulbright's ideas about international relations. They weren't just based on the specific events of his time, but his insights into human nature, which make them still relevant today. There are two signature ideas of his that especially struck Melinda and I. The first is that we actually need to see human beings behind our abstractions to trigger our empathy and change our behavior. The second is the importance of giving up old myths in favor of new realities. I believe that if Senator Fulbright were alive today, he would be saying exactly those same things. In fact, I wish he were here applying those to today's circumstances. In 1964, he said, "We're confronted with a complex and fluid world situation, and we're not adapting ourselves to it. We are clinging to old myths and the faiths of new realities, and we are seeking to escape the contradictions by narrowing the permissible bounds of public discussion." Today, I can see several myths it would be good to overcome. One is the myth that the only thing a prosperous China means is bad things for the United States. To offer just one small counterexample of this, our foundation is partnering with the government of China, developing new approaches to fighting drug-resistant tuberculosis. Drug-resistant tuberculosis is a serious global health threat, and fighting TB in innovative ways in the world's most populous country is a good thing. Their prosperity and innovation will lead to discoveries that will benefit everyone. China getting richer and innovating in energy and health shows it's not completely a zero-sum game where if they do better, we do worse. We can help each other as we do better in many key fields. But a purely nationalistic approach can block valuable collaboration, whether it's on carbon-free energy or medical advances. Another old myth that can make our foreign policy unproductive is the myth that Africa and the developing world in general is trapped in poverty and disease with no good news and no way out. Of course, that myth could undercut our foundation's goals, so it's a deep concern for us. The reality is that there are tremendous successes that have come out of Africa and the developing world in recent decades. It's important that people reject the myth and learn the truth if we're going to have a foreign policy and an aid generosity based on the facts. Let me share with you one of my favorites. This chart, I think, documents one of the most amazing accomplishments in human history. It shows that back in 1960, 20 million children died before their 5th birthday. But in 2008, fewer than 9 million died. That's a drop of more than half in less than 50 years. And it happened at a time when the number of births rose by almost 25%. So with even more children born each year, fewer than half as many die. The impact on reducing sickness, reducing population growth, goes even beyond the reduction in death. So this is a reality and an accomplishment we need to build on. These children are growing up to live more productive, more rewarding lives. The world has seen great improvements in health and development in the last few decades, more than in any comparable period in history. Since 1990, more than 1 billion people have lifted themselves out of poverty. That leads to a whole host of improvements: lower population growth, better nutrition, better sanitation, better education. Between 1999 and 2007, over 50 million additional children were enrolled in primary school. One of the reasons for this progress is effective spending on global health and development. At the center of that, and one of the most amazing interventions of all